Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Welcome to another segment of Coach Gurbani's a-sabad-a-day. We continue our recitation from Rag Asa Bani Bhakta Ki, Asa Kabir Jiyo, composition of Bhagat Kabir in the Rag Asa. A short passage. So I will read it from the top, line by line, and reflect on them. The recitation and the reflection. Asa Jogi Jati tapi Sanniasi bahut tirth pramana lunjat munjat moni jatatar ant ko marana lunjat munjat moni jatadhar ante to marana. Yogis, celibates, ascetics, renunciates, and those who wander through many sacred places, including the yogis and the celibates, lunjata, munjata, with shaved heads, with matted hair, in other words, different kinds of sects, groups, paths, all of these, ante tau marna, they will eventually die. Death is reality. So Kabir says in the Rahau, Tate sevyale ramana, Tate sevyale ramana, therefore Tate serve the all-pervasive Ram, Raman, the one that is pervading everything. Kabirji seems to be suggesting to us, and indeed he is, that all of these other ways and paths will eventually lead to death, meaning physical death, which is inevitable. But somehow he seems to be suggesting Tate Sevyale Ramana, serve the all-pervasive Ram, and what will happen? Rasana Ram Nam Hit Jake. Rasana Ram Nam Hit Jake. If your tongue, here a symbol for the mind, is imbued with the love for the wisdom of Ram, Ram Nam Hit Jake, then you can avoid death. Let's see what he means by that. Rasana Ram Nam Hit Jake, if you're imbued with that love of wisdom, then kaha kare jamana? Jamana is the agent of death. So Kabir is suggesting that the agent of death has no jurisdiction over those whose minds are imbued with love for wisdom. So love for wisdom is what Kabirji is giving us as an alternative to being a yogi or a celibate or an ascetic or a renunciate, whether with shaved heads or matted hair, or engrossed in silent meditation. In fact, he carries on the argument. Agama nirgama jyotik janna hai. You may understand the Vedas, Agama nirgama, and the scriptures. You may know astrology, jyotika, janne baho vyakarana. Baho vyakarana. Vyakarana, literally grammar, but here it specifies that you may be very knowledgeable in the various branches of knowledge. Not only that, Tant mantra sab aukhad janne. जानना है? You may know all of the mantras, you may know magical spells, and you may know a lot about medicinal herbs, medicine in other words. Ante to marna, death will still overcome you. And now, another verse, he carries on. Raj Bhog ar Chhatra Singhasan, Bahu Sundar Ramana. You may enjoy the pleasures of kinship. You may sit atop a throne with a canopy. You may have beautiful wives, Bahasundara Ramana. You may chew on betel leaf, apply camphor and sandal. In other words, you may be living in luxury, but in the end, ante to marna. That is the refrain in this Shabad. And so Kabir concludes by saying, Ved Puran Simrat Sab Khoje. I have searched through the Vedas, the Puranas, and all the sacred texts. Kaho na ubarna, and found that no one can escape death. So what do we do? Kaho Kabir, Iyo Ramme Jampo. Iyo Ramme Jampo. Realize the self in such a way through remembrance Jampo, mate Janama Marana. Erase the cycle of birth and death. In other words, overcome death. So is this physical death or is it fear of death? Because what Kabirji is reminding us is that death is inevitable, regardless of what you do, or what you practice, or which faith you follow. He also reminds us that we live in denial by distracting ourselves, whether in trivial pursuits, sensory pleasures, or even in great contemplation or the exercise of power, kingship. But what he's saying is you cannot avoid the existential angst that hangs over our head, like the sword of Damocles. That is the fear of death. And we have to wonder about it. What does death mean? Is it extinction or is it metamorphosis? Is there a part of me that doesn't die? So these are issues that we all confront. And every wisdom tradition, whether it is the East, or whether it is the West, every wisdom tradition advises us to remain in constant awareness of death. Keep it near. And in so doing, these traditions assure us one will escape many illusions in life. But most of all, one will escape the illusion of ego, which is false. And so awareness requires a degree of objectification. You have to objectify death, understand it as a phenomena, and that gives us freedom from it and helps us to focus on meaningful pursuit. So what Kabirji is saying is that the only effective way is the love of wisdom. This is exactly what Socrates, Plato have said in the West, the love of philosophy. Because love of wisdom or love of philosophy is an attitude towards life. And also it gives you insight into the true nature of things. That includes your substance. And you realize that your authentic nature is the undying self. And that idea is liberating. That is freedom. That is moksha. Vaheguru Ji ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji ki Fateh.